Hello, everyone. So can you see me and hear clearly? Okay, so let's see. Oh, we have many people in this room, so thank you very much for coming. And my name is Hyun Shin, professor at Hanyang University, and also CEO of Impact Research Lab. And I'm very pleased to have you all in this room and then share our experience about empathy education with you. So let me share my screen first. So here is brief introduction about my company, Impact Research Lab, which is to inspire people through impactful research and education. And I'm currently serving as a Ashoka U change leader at Hanyang University and also editor of Stanford Social Innovation Reviews Korean edition. Why empathy? People say that we are connected. However, with the advance of technology, we might be more fragmented and disconnected than before. According to a famous author, Yuval Harari, who is the author of the Sapiens, if you like a dog, you'll be more likely connected with the people who love dogs and upload dogs pictures by the algorithm. Then you'll be disconnected with people who love cats. Moreover, now a mom sends a chat message to her kids to come for dinner, even though they are in the same house. Then each of them watch what they like to see by using their smartphone individually. Ironically, we observe more fragmentation and less conversation in the era of high connectivity. In the era of high connectivity, we observe lack of close and deep conversation, and people have difficulty in empathizing with others. However, research says that empathy is a kind of human nature. The question is how to activate it. Indeed, many leading figures in business say that empathy is important for business innovation and success. And Bill Drayton and Ashoka says that empathy is one of the core skills for change makers to solve social problems. Again, one important question for university educators is how to equip our young generation with empathy skills. So this is why my company, Impact Research Lab, and T&C Foundation decided to develop empathy curriculum and pilot the program together. So we identify empathy capabilities and we try to define empathy leadership. And accordingly, we design some modules to teach and enhance empathy capability and empathy leadership. And in so doing, we try to take advantage of the power of action learning to develop emotional empathy, cognitive empathy, and compassionate empathy, which are three types of empathy skills. And also we try to utilize reflection so that students can develop balanced empathy. And also we try to develop them to be an empathy facilitator so that they can spread this idea of empathy to public. So this is more kind of structured framework for our curriculum. So we first teach people the theory of empathy. And then we used empathetic communication module to develop emotional empathy and real-life simulation action learning to develop cognitive empathy. And for more specific details, I'm going to share a little bit and also students who participated in this program will share their own experiences. And then we developed mini projects, planning empathy curriculum for developing participants' compassionate empathy. And then we added this reflection module for balanced empathy and also empathy facilitation workshop. Theory of empathy. So for this module, we try to help the participants understand the concept of empathy more precisely and in depth. So here again, we try to address 3 types of empathy: emotional empathy, cognitive empathy, and compassionate empathy. So I think maybe you can take a look at the example on the bottom of each box. So for example, if you can cry and weep together with and about somebody, then that can be said that you have emotional empathy. Cognitive empathy is a little bit different. If you can listen why the person is crying and understand the situation from the other's point of view, then that is you have cognitive empathy. And psychologists did a lot of research on cognitive empathy, and they found that cognitive empathy is more about it accounts for about 70% of the empathy skills, and it can be taught and it can be acquired. So this is why empathy education is very important. And emotional empathy and cognitive empathy, you can understand better and you can share feelings. And based on that, you want to do something. You want to do some action. That is compassionate empathy. And this is critical for problem solving and change making. So this is about finding solutions to solve the other's problems and taking proper actions. So this means that we should equip our students or participants to develop all these 3 empathy skills in a balanced way. So as for the emotional empathy, we utilized empathetic communication program developed by Bo-Hye Park, who is the CEO of Empathy. Empathy means, pathy is kind of heart, and N means end, right? It links heart and heart with the power of empathy. So this company is specialized in spreading this empathy. Very good company. So they worked with us to develop this kind of cards kind of games so that people can share their needs and wants, and they can see themselves more clearly, and they can feel how others feel through this kind of workshops sessions. So we use this kind of online Zoom session for people to share feelings with each other and develop emotional empathy skills. And real lives is used to develop cognitive empathy. And real lives is a simulation developed by Dr. Parag Mantikar, who is an Ashoka Fellow in India. And with this simulation, students can practice emotional and cognitive empathy with them. So that this emotional empathy, empathic communication is more about myself and you. Basically, it's basically you communicate with yourself and people around you, nearby you. But this real life is a simulation which allows you to communicate with others far from you through this kind of simulation. So basically, if you use this simulation game, then you will be born as a kid, maybe in Cambodia or Uganda, in like developing countries, and you will face many difficulties as people in Uganda or people in Cambodia faces in their daily lives. And after experiencing the lives, you will be asked to complete these kind of activities. One is writing a letter to my character. This is so that this is about micro level perspective. After playing real lives, students can emotionally empathize with their character and express emotional empathy by writing letters to their character. So this is more about emotional empathy. And the second task is to do research. This is more about macro level perspective. Students learn cognitive empathy skills by doing research on key factors such as social problems, their root causes, and relevant political and cultural issues. And in so doing, they can develop a comprehensive contextual viewpoint about a specific country or society. And then students are required to do some mini project planning empathy curriculum by themselves. So I ask students to think about the purpose, target audience, and place and duration of the program and contents. So based on what they learned, they can design what they want to deliver to their kind of imaginary target. And then as a method, they can provide some theoretical understanding, action learning, discussion and reflection sections, etc. And also they were required to think about expected results and how to measure the performance, like KPIs or something like that. And then we had reflection session about balanced empathy. And then there's an empathy risk. If you empathize too much with somebody, that may be overused or misused to justify some wrongdoings. Or sometimes maybe you empathize with somebody too much, so you have very strong link with that person. You might be against the people out of your circle, inner circle. So that is called empathy risk. So we try to think about balanced empathy and sustainable empathy, something like that. And what are the key characteristics of empathy leader, and what would be a good empathetic leadership? So through a reflection session, we think about all these things. So this is a scene of our reflection session with university students.
I think Professor Shin probably has some Wi-Fi problems, so how about we wait on him for about a few minutes?
Okay, that would be great.
Thank you to everyone who's attending today.
Yeah, he's back.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. So here are some quotes and implications. So I came to know about myself more clearly. Now I can see what I think and how I feel about myself. I want to improve my listening skills to empathize with others more carefully. I'd like to see the situation in their shoes. It helped me to build a more close relationship with people around me. It was a really impressive experience. And I realized how important empathy is for everyone, including myself. So we observed that students could learn and grow through our empathy education curriculum. They can better understand, they can practice empathy and internalize empathy and self-expanding experience. So this is what we observed through our empathy education program. And from now on, our students who really participate in the program, Aaron and Stella, will share their experiences from empathy education with you. So thank you very much for your listening. And Aaron will share his presentation slides. Okay, so
right,
Aaron,
Prof.
are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. Well, to begin with, thank you for the introduction, Professor. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron, a student at Korea University. In addition, I'm a T&C Foundation's Young Fellow and Impact Research Lab's empathy facilitator. You see, graduating from high school, I had no clear goals in life besides earning fat paychecks. However, I did have a very specific fear: uncertainty. It was something that I could not live with. Uncertainty drove me to apply for the most prestigious university here in South Korea and major in business school to pursue a stable, safe career path. Although I filled out my grades with A pluses, but life did not turn out to be better. Academic achievements taught me nothing about what I really wanted. Erasing one day after another, I was drowning in sarcasm and indifference. At the worst period of anxiety, I was lucky enough to meet these two organizations, who showed me the treasure of life through their empathy education program. From now on, I'll tell you about my story and the limitless potential of empathy. The T&C Foundation had a very specific curriculum for empathy education. Starting out, the ultimate theme of empathy was broken down to three major topics. First, empathy through involvement, where T&C fellows learn about listening and responding to various emotions. We had group counseling sessions and a special walk and talk program in a beautiful national park. Second, empathy through reasoning. Here, we attended lectures from renowned Korean professors, and then we analyzed social issues such as poverty, racism, and hatred. Using critical thinking, we were able to develop the whys and hows and learn our change-maker mindsets. Third, empathy through action. As the last part of our curriculum, we initiated a volunteer program for social groups vulnerable to COVID-19. This unique action program has changed my perception on empathy completely. Now, I know that empathy is not mere compassion. It's actually much bigger than that. It is a combination of connection, reasoning, and actions to empower the community. Now, let me tell you about my first task as the Impact Research Lab's empathy facilitator. I was asked to serve as a mentor in an empathy education program, which uses real life for a group of high school students. As previously mentioned, Real Life is a digital simulation, providing experimental learning based on the real-world database of 180 countries on factors such as GDP, education level, and living conditions. Diving into the game, the first sound my mentees and I heard was an infant's cry. On the screen, a baby named Joshua was born. He was the third son of a factory working couple in Caloocan, Philippines. Contrary to our expectations, the game was based on text rather than graphics, meaning there weren't any fancy 3D models, or even a single picture of Joshua. However, we could still feel Joshua's presence with the detailed text messages. At age 1, Joshua couldn't stop crying in the crib due to hunger. At age 3, dengue fever pushed him to the verge of life. At age 6, instead of starting his schooling, Joshua got his first job on the street as a shoe shiner. All of this was a harsh life for a kid. However, Joshua had something that moved him forward. He dreamed that one day, after saving enough money, then he would be able to go to school, just like his older brother. It was the single hope that kept him going. However, oh sorry. However, at age 10, Joshua's story comes to an abrupt ending. He died of malnutrition, a condition that followed him throughout his whole life. With Real Life, My mentees could see the world through Joshua's eyes. We cheered with Joshua's accomplishments and mourned along to all of his losses. Already feeling in close connection with Joshua, my mentees couldn't accept his tragedy at first. They remained in silence for a long time. However, what they did later has surprised me. Instead of restarting the simulation, like what people would normally do, the mentees were analyzing the life log of Joshua thoroughly. They were Googling the Philippines' average life expectancy, researching the social structures behind child malnutrition, and doing all possible efforts to figure out the background behind Joshua's death. When the research was done, we were overwhelmed by an underprivileged public education system that was passing down poverty through generations. Sadly, the reality was even worse than the simulation. As a facilitator, I witnessed how a group of kids go from indifference to an actional empathy. Instead of feeling mere pity, a rational questioning toward inequity drove those kids to take further action. I could tell that these kids has went through a life-changing moment and how they'll always preserve this memory inside their hearts. In Korea, we call this 역지사지, meaning to walk on someone else's shoes. At the end of the day, I was certain that given the right measures, empathy could be taught and spread at an enormous scale, change the countless lives around us. As Joshua never faded inside my head also, I too began to look for ways to solve educational inequity. Diving into the root of the problem, there was an inescapable lack of empathy. You see, financial aids are essential, but it cannot guarantee a sustainable change of a young person. In order to make the world a better place, we need stronger motivations. A community's problem has to become everyone's point of interest at first. This is why T&C Foundation and Impact Research Lab's efforts are so critical. With empathy, we can encourage people to get involved in making impacts for the less privileged populations. If you happen to have a Korean friend, then you might know that we tend to have a very result-oriented culture. As for myself, I was also that kind of person who cared about how instead of why. How to get it done faster, how to perform better, how to get more compliments. Yet, a life obsessed with results and recognition was hollow at best. The empathy education program encouraged me to think of why before how. When I started to ask why against the root cause of inequity, the missing meaning of life was finally discovered. Like learning a new language, empathy has expanded the boundary of my thinking. To this very moment, empathy is a Bible that I come back to every time when I'm lost. Before the wrap-up, I would like to give a huge gratitude to T&C Foundation and Impact Research Lab. They taught me the secret to happiness and gave me an extraordinary opportunity to embrace empathy. Hope their empathy education program will spread to the world and transform lives with vivid colors. Now, thank you for listening, my Ashoka friends. Let our journey as change makers be inspiring, as always.
Oh, thank you very much, Aaron, for sharing your wonderful story and your insights from this program. And also, it was very, I think, useful to listen to your talk about how this empathy education was perceived from students' perspective. And now we have Stella, who will also share how this empathy education affects her life. So Stella, could you please share your slides? Oh, maybe. Yes.
Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Very nicely. So please go ahead.
I will begin. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hyun Shin, and I also go by Stella. I am a student currently studying at Seoul National University, majoring in politics and international studies. I am honored to be speaking here today, sharing my experience from an empathy education program provided by T&C Foundation and Impact Research Lab. Today, I'd like to talk about the importance of empathy. Wow, I know, how boring. Not another talk on empathy. Well, brace yourselves because, yep, this won't just be any talk on empathy. Today, I'm here to talk about the importance of self-empathy and how you can extend it to care about other people. We often treat empathy as a concept like charity, something we should be doing but have trouble actually carrying out, something that benefits others at the cost of my time and money. However, empathy isn't a concept that only deals with the well-being of others. There is the concept of self-empathy, better known as self-compassion, which concerns empathizing with and understanding and accepting the emotions of oneself. In numerous empathy education sessions with T&C Foundation, students like myself were given chances to look into our emotions. A particular session that was carried out was one where the social enterprise Empathy and Impact Research Lab collaborated to help participants utilize empathy to help us get in touch with our insides. Empathy towards myself. It seems very odd at first. After all, the emotions I feel are mine. Why did I need to better understand something that came from me? However, we do not realize how often in our daily lives we tell ourselves that, oh, what you're feeling doesn't matter, or to get yourself together and move on, instead of giving ourselves time to understand the feeling or instinct we feel inside us. If you were in a bad mood, felt stuck, empty, or sad, could you specifically describe what it was that was bugging you? Could you describe with detail what was upsetting you and what you wanted to do about it? I don't know how many of you are in touch with your feelings and emotions on a daily basis, but I certainly could not answer these questions. During the session, I found difficulty in naming the emotions I felt and expressing the specifics regarding them. However, after learning to utilize the naming of emotions in daily life, I found liberty and freedom. It was an exhilarating feeling to be able to free myself of the weight of a certain emotion I was feeling. Recently, I reread a short book that hadn't really caught my attention before, Tuesdays with Morrie, and was pleasantly surprised after finding this concept in the book, the act of detaching, being able to let the experience or emotion fully pierce you so that you can name a particular emotion and detach yourself from it. Self-empathy would make you realize that you have great inner power. Self-empathy doesn't end with just a single happy individual. Learning to empathize with oneself gives the individual the time and strength to look into and reach out to the lives of others. Self-empathy sets the firm foundation for developing your empathy to reach out to your local community, country, and even global society. Like self-empathy is a skill that can be learned with a bit of guidance, empathy towards others can also be learned. In another session with the Impact Research Lab, we were given the chance to learn and experience empathy on a deeper level. By using a simulation program, Real Lives, we were given a chance to virtually stand in the shoes of different people across the globe. One time, I was living as a young girl in a poverty-stricken community. Another time, I was part of a wealthy family in a wealthy part of the world. I was given chances to work, to date, to experience the daily lives of those so far from where I live. The activity itself was nothing special. It simply helped us think from the perspective of those with their very different cultural, social, and economical backgrounds from mine. I felt sorrow when whoever's life I was visiting ended. I felt joy when they reached a higher stage in their life without too much difficulty. The empathy I felt here was emotional empathy. We were given an assignment to write a letter to whoever's lives we were looking into. Through the activity, I could reach deep into the emotional empathy towards the virtual characters in the simulation. However, what really brought me to an aha moment was when we were given an assignment to look into the structural problems the children in each region faced on a daily basis. Looking into the bigger problems the country faced helps us better understand why the children had to go through such conflicts or hardships throughout his or her short life. This brought about a feeling of wanting to help. The second activity was touching on cognitive and compassionate empathy. The fact that empathy is a multidimensional concept was surprising to me. By participating in the empathy education program, I felt my empathy skills grow and deepen. The compassionate empathy that prompts us to go out into the world and solve social problems can be strengthened through the practice of emotional and cognitive empathy. This is important because we often mistake empathy for the simple sharing of feelings. However, without empathy, especially compassionate empathy, making social changes in areas that need extra help is nearly impossible. As one of the future change makers, I came to believe that empathy is a skill that must be cultivated, learned, and practiced through carefully designed educational activities and reflections. However, there are possible problems that come with empathy. Those who are against empathy consider the concept as an unfair flashlight that focuses too much on a particular incident by steering the public's focus away from the others who also deserve our attention. This may be true if only emotional empathy is utilized. However, when emotional empathy and cognitive empathy are practiced in a balanced way, we would be able to avoid such problems and practice compassionate empathy for making meaningful impacts. Another problem that arises with empathy is that it may deepen the emotional understanding of an inner circle, thus further pushing the outer circle out. This may cause hatred against outsiders. They may justify insiders' misbehaviors or even hate crimes such as insults and violence against outsiders because they can empathize with the fellow insiders. Empathy can be wrongly used to strengthen such wrong beliefs. This is why in the age of hatred and hate crimes, we should pay more attention to balanced empathy. These activities and reflections left me wondering how empathy education should be designed and implemented. Today, I want to leave two messages to all of you. First, empathize with yourself and get in touch with your feelings. Then, extend that empathy to those around you, in your household, community, society, and even the globe in a balanced and healthy way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Stella. I think your message, emphasize with yourself first, and then extend your empathy with people around you. I think that is very important message. So thank you so much. And now I think we can listen to Karen, who is a manager at T&C Foundation, and what is the kind of overall big picture of empathy education program that T&C develops and provides. So Karen, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Shin, for your gracious introduction. And it is great honor to share with you our story at T&C Foundation. My name is Khan Jung. Let me introduce to you my foundation. Since 2017, T&C vision is to build a more empathetic society by nurturing more empathy-oriented talents. We provide scholarship and education programs to help children to learn about the importance of empathy in our society. We also select and provide scholarships to high school students whose goal in life is to manage empathy education programs and thereby change the world. We guide our students through 6 core principles: sensitive to joy, positive influence, intellectual curiosity, world citizenship, problem-solving ability, and self-leadership. Let me share with you in more detail. At T&C, we believe that learning empathy will help children to solve many problems that they will face during their lives. We define empathy as our willingness to understand people in different environments and solve their difficulties based on our consideration for others. With T&C's close partnership with both domestic and overseas institutions, we are developing education programs, conferences, and exhibitions to help our students experience the true value of empathy. Our programs aim to guide our students to find their solution through open conversations without rejecting those who have different opinions. Our students will also learn to approach a social problem first by learning about their own prejudice surrounding the problem. This exercise will help them to gain a more objective and comprehensive approach to the same problem. Our empathy education curriculum can be divided into 3 key steps: learning, practicing, and spreading. The first step is learning empathy. Indeed, we can teach students to learn about empathy. Programs such as Vision Lecture, Empathy Conversation, Real Lives, and Bias Empathy all belongs to this category. For example, Vision Lecture, which is open to our scholarship students, consists of lectures that help foster our 6 principles. Our students will listen to various expert lectures on empathy to first enhance their interest in this topic, and then to train themselves to observe their surroundings from the perspective of empathy. Experts from various fields will share their experience and wisdom, focusing on T&C's 6 principles in developing empathy. Through talk concerts or workshops covering a variety of topics in humanities, sociology, history, science, and the arts, our students can directly gain insights that can be applied to daily life. In their in-depth meetings with this expert, our students can gain direct answers to any question they may have. Another example is Empathy Conversation. The Empathy Conversation program focuses on learning emotional empathy. This program was offered by Social Ventures, Empathy, and Impact Research Lab. Our students learn how to empathize not only with others, but with themselves. Perhaps the most interesting example is Real Lives. It's a simulation game created by Dr. Parag Mankika, who is an Ashoka Fellow. In this game, children choose their race, country, religion, and gender to live a life of a person in a completely different environment. The chosen character's life is actually based on someone's real-life data, so game users have to solve their problems by empathizing the life problems presented in the statistics. When you set up a character, you can indirectly experience the character's life, which will be constructed based on real-world database provided by UN, World Bank, UNESCO, and so on. In collaboration with Impact Research Lab, students learned how to empathize with others by using cognitive, emotional, and compassionate empathy skills. We observed that simulation users become interested in solving social problems after experiencing other people's suffering around the world, and researching what are the root causes of such social problems. We are aware that empathy may lead to biases, disgust, and even hatred and hate crimes. Perception bias occurs when you accept information in a distorted and one-sided way only from your inner circle members. If you empathize only with people around you, you may become biased toward your inner circle members, and bias against your outer circle members. We empathize the importance of balanced empathy skills because we believe our students should foster such skills to make positive changes for all. So various lectures and programs on bias empathy were created to alert our students to such misconceptions. What you can see here are the student thoughts after attending a program and how dangerous bias empathy is and how we can prevent it. The second step is practicing empathy. Through media literacy education program, our students are taught to tackle and solve media-related social problems by acting as cyber empathy agents. Using SNS news campaigns, they can provide the necessary education to the needed. Another great example of practicing empathy is our Global Camp program that actually allows students to visit countries like Mongolia or Cambodia to provide educational services. The students not only teach the local children on various topics, but also have time to learn and examine the social problems of the country. Designed to reflect our students' interests and visions, this project aimed to broaden our students' perspective of the world, give them opportunities to experience and learn about other countries' culture and history, and thereby nurture global leadership and citizenship. The third step is spreading empathy. Based on what they learned and experienced, our students finally plan and practice volunteer activities that can actually help improve the living conditions of those people in different difficult environments or situations with real social problems. In other words, they are now encouraged to act as social innovators through volunteer services. In order to improve the living environments for less privileged people, they are encouraged to think and act as social innovators for making sustainable changes. In so doing, they can think deeply about how to spread empathy throughout the society. Furthermore, to engage the general public to our activity of spreading empathy, T&C launched a project division called Another Point of View, or APOV for short. As such, we are conducting educational program for students to build an empathetic society, but we are also providing opportunities for the general public to think about the meaning of empathy, which is imperative for all generations. The APOP conference and exhibitions were open to the general public, and we plan to spread empathy through this event. The APOP is dedicated to hosting conferences, exhibitions, and various social gatherings to the general public, both online and offline, with the goal of building a more empathetic society. We were quite surprised by the visible changes and growth of our students as we progress through this project. We now have a higher expectation for the changes that will come in the future. T&C Foundation will keep updated and share what we learned with you. We believe that helping young generation grow as empathetic leaders would be meaningful but challenging task, and we should collaborate with each other. We would love to establish close partnership with individuals and institutions around the world. Please feel free to contact me or my foundation if you are passionate about educating and spreading empathy. I'd like to finish by thanking you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khan, for your comprehensive explanation about what T&C Foundation has been doing in terms of empathy education. It's very impressive kind of curriculum, I think. Thank you so much. And I think this might be a good time to give the mic to the floor, but the problem is we don't have mic here. So instead, I think maybe you can take a look at the right side of your screen. Then you can see the chat box. And then please feel free to write down any questions or comments, or maybe you can share how you feel after listening to this wonderful presentations. So let me give you maybe 1 or 2 minutes to write down some questions or comments on the chat box, and then the presenters will respond to the comments and questions. And during that time, so here we have several questions. And Marina, thank you so much for your compliments. All the photos are beautiful. Physical buildings, campuses, yes. Yeah, I've been to T&C Foundation several times, and then yeah, the building and the interior design is very inspiring. So yeah, I hope all of you can come to Korea one day and visit the T&C Foundation. And Marina, did you do any pre and post measurement of mindset change or new skills around empathy? Yes, so we developed the empathy, and basically we try to measure metacognition and empathy skills by utilizing like 30 or 40 kind of measurement items developed by previous researchers. And we measure pre and post, and then we try to now analyze the like t-tests, something like that, to see whether there is some statistically significant improvement. And we want to write this is paper to be published in a journal, and then I'm going to share with you if you are interested. So please feel free to send the email to Kaun. Kaun, can you please share the final screen again, where your email address and contact information?
Okay, I'll do it.
Yes. So, and yes, so that was my answer. And then about the question raised by Sandra, how long are the modules? Yes, so the module of the empathy education program, indeed is like 2-year program. So in the first year, students will develop their understanding about empathy through lectures and program, some theory sessions, and then through action learning, students learn how the students will do practice on empathy skills. And as I explained, empathetic conversation for emotional empathy skills, and also real life simulation for cognitive skills, cognitive empathy skills. And then in the second year, students are asked to participate in the kind of project session to develop their compassionate empathy skills. So yeah, in total, it's 2-year program. But we are currently developing several pilot sessions, and then now we are organizing the sessions so that we can provide more meaningful experience to the participants. Thank you very much for the questions, Sandra and Marina. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. And also, any comments would be much appreciated. And also, let me ask a question to all of you in this room. So you are all the experts in empathy, right? And change making. So one question we received from our student participants was that they wanted to have more kind of real world kind of experience to practice their empathy in very diverse kind of situations. For example, you may face someone who is very against you and attack you, right? Even in the case, maybe you wanna exercise some the power of empathy, right? So we are wondering if you have any good suggestions to provide this kind of real world kind of simulation experience so that students can exercise their empathy skills. So If there's any, then please feel free to share. And yes, thank you, Sandra. And Marina, have you been able to bring more empathy to the faculty, staff, senior leaders in your university? Thank you for your question. Indeed, Hanyang University, we became the member of Ashoka U since 2018. And since then, we launched our social innovation major for undergrad students. And we offer 10 courses every semester so that they can graduate with this double major in social innovation. And when we designed this social innovation curriculum and major, the one thing that we were in stress was how to incorporate this concept of empathy. Because all we know, Ashoka says that there are three core skills to be change maker: empathy and creativity and collaboration. So empathy is definitely one of the most important kind of core skills for change makers. And the question is how to teach empathy, because I have never learned how to empathize with others, right? So we try to develop this kind of empathy curriculum in collaboration with Ashoka Korea office. And Hae-young Lee, who is the country rep representative of Ashoka Korea, she was really helpful to design this course. And then we co-teach, Hae-young and I co-teach the empathy practice curriculum course, basically every year, once a year. So we have been teaching this empathy practicum for the past 3 years, and the result was really promising. So, and then now we are expanding this program to high school students and even younger students. And that's why we work with T&C Foundation to develop this module. And indeed, T&C was not just adopting our program, but they even further enhance the value of the program by incorporating many diverse and valuable kind of sessions like vision lectures and like mini projects and global camp, etc. So now I think now we have more complete kind of set of empathy education curriculum. Yes, so thank you very much for your question, Marina. And I hope we can further develop this empathy education program in Korea and also maybe in other places. And maybe we can share. That would be really great. Thank you very much. And Hyunjin indeed asked very interesting questions, two questions. So maybe you can take a look and then also post your comments or answers to Hyunjin's comment here. And then let me see another question, Sandra, from Sandra at Miami Dade College. So you incorporate a lot of academic service learning with a great number of community-based organizations. And students complete a number of service hours with selected community-based organizations that align with the course's learning objectives. This provides our students with great opportunities to experience emotional, cognitive, and perhaps even compassion and empathy. Oh, thank you so much for your comments, Miami. And it seems that Miami Dade College is, yeah, you have very advanced this kind of service learning programs. And I definitely agree with your point. This kind of community-based service would be a good kind of opportunity for students to think about empathy and practice empathy. Thank you very much, Sandra. And also, please take a look at the Hyunjin's question. She raised two interesting questions. So the first question is, in her presentation, she claimed that self-empathy comes before empathy toward others. So what do you think? Maybe you can agree or you can disagree. So please feel free to share your thoughts about her question. And her second question, do you have any personal experience with self-empathy? Or if so, then if you can share your story, then that would be really great. So please leave comments on her post. Thank you, Kenjin. Yes. And while you are doing, there are several comments. So let me see. Hyunjin asked the question to Sandra. So what sort of service hours do students complete? And and then during that time, so let me ask a question to Gaan. So I've been working with T&C Foundation, and it was really impressive to me that you care so much about the empathy. So do you know why? Why do you care so much about empathy and empathy education? So could you please share your thought?
Okay, we believe that empathy is essential to solving many problems that our children will face in their lives. We define empathy as a willingness to understand people in different environments and to address their difficulties based on their consideration for others. We are developing experiential learning opportunities such as education programs, conferences, and exhibitions so that young people can experience the true value of empathy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope TNC can uh, develop and improve this empathy education curriculum so that it can be shared throughout the world, basically. Thank you.
Yeah.
And oh, Marina and Sandra, thank you so much for leaving comments here. So Marina said she finds it very natural to empathize with others, and she's a bit more self-critical of herself. So you've been working a lot on self-compassion. Oh, it's likely to similar to self-empathy, but that takes more effort for me, right? Or is self-compassion different to self-empathy? I think that is a very important question. And what's the difference? What's the commonality and difference between these two concepts, self-compassion, self-empathy? So I think that is something to be think about. And then I think Hyunjin is an expert to this matter. So maybe Hyunjin, can you share what you think about Marina's point?
I also left a comment.
Mm,
I said in my presentation that self-empathy and self-compassion are usually used as a very similar concept, almost exactly the same, because the concept of compassion and empathy are interused often. So I don't think people leave a very clear line between the two concepts. I think you can use both of them in the similar situation. And I also left a comment that I think that those who participate in change making and those who take interest in our society often have a hard time prioritizing ourselves over helping others. And I think that's why Marina and Sandra have similar thoughts on my question. And I think that it's more important that we take care of ourselves first so that we have more strength and energy to reach out to others in a healthy manner. So I often empathize, often um, say that empathizing with ourselves is more important. Well, that you should prioritize self-empathy over helping others and empathizing with others so that you can keep yourself on a healthy level of empathy.
yes, thank you so much for your sharing. And I think this is very important, kind of open question type of question. So I think through discussion, we can further enhance our understanding about empathy, self-empathy, and empathy skills, or something like that. I'm very excited to share this thing with you over here. And Haje, so let me ask you a question. So indeed, your presentation was really impressive. And then my question is, what if you are in a situation in which you should empathize with a person who is very kind of hostile to you, maybe aggressive on you or something like that, then how would you respond?
Okay, well, to begin with, that's a great question, and it's actually something that we'll face a lot during our lives, right? And I think there can be three steps to properly respond to someone who is very hostile to you and try to emphasize with them. To begin with, you can start by becoming an active listener, because in a situation where someone is very hostile, you can easily get offended and you can maybe try to cut them out or stop listening or reject them by naturally. But the key to empathy is that understanding has to come first. So you gotta try to, even though it's hard, You gotta try to listen to them from the top to the bottom. And after an active listening comes the second step, which is to structure your thoughts and visualize them. Because when someone has an opposing view to you, it can be inferred that your thoughts may not be right. So let's say I have a point A and someone has a point B, then I can start by trying to, visualize my point A. So why and how are my thoughts? Like, why do I think this way? And what's my reason for thinking so? And after visualizing your thoughts, and you can easily spot that, oh, so this is the point where someone is not agreeing with me. And so this is the point where the conflict happens. And so after listening and visualizing your thoughts, three is the last step will be you can try to refute your own thoughts. So let's say I have some, in a political view, for example, I'm a very liberal person and my opponent is a very conservative one. We are bound to have opposing views by nature, right? But maybe this time I can try to review my own thoughts and try to attack my point of view from myself. By doing so, you can earn a different perspective than your previous ones. And throughout this whole concept, I believe you can easily build up an empathy groundwork for a more active conversation. Thank you for the question, Professor.
Oh, thank you very much. So yeah, I think you made very good points, and then I think it's very helpful for myself. So thank you very much for sharing great insights. And I just revisit the Hyun Shin's Stella's comment, and then Marina pointed out Christine Neff's book on self-compassion, and I think that sounds very interesting. So maybe I need to also check the Amazon.com to see that book. And also, Sandra, thank you so much for leaving comments on self-care, self-empathy. Yes, I think this is very interesting topic to explore and think about this kind of very important concepts. So thank you so much, guys, for your active participation. And other comment from Tubarak. We are from Thailand. Wow. So now you are working with some universities to develop the curriculum in Thailand. Wow, that's great. Yeah, and then I really hope we can collaborate because Thailand and Korea, we are very close to each other. So maybe, I hope we can have some opportunity to work together. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So I think now we have only 8 minutes left. So I think this might be a good time to do some wrap up. So I think maybe you can just share what you learned or how you feel at this moment through posting a chat box, and then we can just share a little bit, and then we can finish the session a little bit early than the expected. So please share your thoughts on the chat box, and let's wrap up. Oh, and then Marina raised another question. So you are thinking about vulnerability and the importance of that in leadership. Oh, yes, especially in uncertain contexts. Do you see a link between being vulnerable as a way to build trust and helping to truly understand people? I think that's a really important question. And indeed, I worked with another foundation to think about to analyze the journey of social innovator. So we did a lot of interviews and focus group interviews and surveys, etc., of the Korean social entrepreneurs and social innovators. And what we realized is that one of the key, very important kind of curriculum for social innovators is to expose vulnerability to others. So to be more candid, and then I think that is very important kind of leadership program. So we benchmarked several programs for leadership provided by Harvard or Stanford, Oxford, etc. And then one very important commonality is to provide this kind of workshop So people come in workshop and they share their vulnerability in very safe kind of context, safe mode. And then by doing that, they can think about how to overcome the vulnerability and how to become more kind of frank, candid person to be a more authentic leader. So I think that is a very important thing. And then I think Ashoka has a very good program about for the kind of matured kind of people to develop their leadership. So I want to learn from Ashoka. And also I think Echoing Green has a very good program. So maybe next year I can do more research and then share with you through Ashoka U Exchange. So thank you very much for very good, important question, Marina. And Sandra, students' perspectives and thoughts on their experiences. Yes, Sandra, and I was very impressed, and then I learned a lot from these students. So I'd like to thank to these two students, Haje, Aaron, and Stella Hyunjin, and also Sandra. Thank you so much for your active participation. Yes. Okay, so I think maybe we can call it a day. So thank you very much for your coming and your sharing. And it was a really great time for us too. So in United States, have a good night. And in Asia and other countries, have a good morning and have a great day. Thank you so much and see you next year again. Thank you. Bye-bye.